Hey y'all, this is AL Thick Madame, and this is the recap review for Queen Sugar. So I just have to give y'all a little bit of a background or whatever on what's been going on with me today. Um, so I fell into a little bit of a depression. I don't know what in the world's going on, but I have not been depressed in years. Like I really have not. I really have not. Even when COVID happened, like when everything first happened last year, I was good. Like I'm used to being by myself and closed off from people and not having everybody occupy my space. So I was fine with that. But I don't know what in the world has happened lately. But yeah, I was like, what in the world? So I mean, like the last couple of days I've been kinda in a funk. And in all honesty, had that versus not happened, it probably would have been way worse because I got my entire life watching that versus. So I'm really glad that that did go down. But yeah, I had a moment today and all of that, and it is what it is. I'm all right. It's just that I'm not used to this anymore. I hadn't been used to it for years, so it's kind of like for it to kind of creep back in. It's like, wait a minute. So I'll be okay. I've overcome way worse. I am not having suicidal thoughts. So that is definitely not something that y'all are going to have to worry about. So yeah, I just figured I'd let y'all know that I was going through a little bit of things and I'm homesick. I hadn't seen my folks in a while. So yeah. Anyway, let's go on ahead and get started with this recap review. Okay, y'all. So I already knew that this episode was going to tear my nerves down, but okay. So, episode starts out with Blue having a dream about him being confronted by a white police officer, and despite the fact that his father told him, don't turn your back to the police and run away, he's having a dream that he then got scared and he done ran away, and the police officer is about to shoot him in his back. And then he woke up, he having a cold sweat and some more. I'm like, oh my God, Jesus. And then like he about to leave out the room to go and go into his parents' room, but then he stops himself. And in my mind, I'm like, no, Blue, don't do that. I understand that like for most of this series up until now, Blue has basically been coddled by everybody. Like he is loved, well loved, but outside of that, like they really hold his hand a lot. And like I just said, he has definitely been coddled and very sheltered from the real world, if you will. But in my mind, I'm just like, no, this is not the time to just want to, kind of sort it out on your own. I feel like this is the perfect time for him to go to his parents and tell them that he just had this nightmare, because it ain't even a dream. This is a whole nightmare this boy just had, and it's really too much. Like y'all, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Davis done made it over to Charlie house, and Charlie going all the way through. He knocking on the door, he calling her, by name. She's not answering, and it just gets to a point where he's like, all right, now let me just break this window real quick. So he done broke one of the little window panes in the door and unlocked the door and came in the house. He looking for her and he see her laying on the sofa. So he asks her, are you hurting? Can you breathe? What's going on? So he ends up telling her, I need you to turn over on your stomach. And so she kept saying she can't. He was like, listen to me. You need to turn on your stomach. I need you to turn, you need to help me to turn you on your stomach. So he gets her on her stomach and he calls the doctor. She told him before this even started going down, you need to put a mask on. I think I have COVID. So he didn't put the mask on, and then he did all that. So then he called his personal doctor. I'm pretty sure that because he, was an athlete and people still live for him, he probably has his own personal doctor on speed dial. He done called the doctor and was like, yeah, I'm here. She said she thinks she got COVID. I turned her on her stomach. So he already called somebody ahead of time, anticipating that might have been the situation. And so while he's being walked through the steps, she's just kind of lethargic. And, he on the phone with the doctor. He was like, yeah, she's clammy. She says she hasn't been coughing and she's hurting and whatever. So, yeah, we get down to all of that. So I don't know if the doctor is going to appear or what they're going to do. But, yeah, he's there and he done told her that he's glad that she called him. Meanwhile, Darla is at the house FaceTiming her mama and going back and forth with her because she has basically gotten Blue into this really, really good school, if you will. And Darla's like, look, I don't want him to be exposed to all that. And how was he able to even get into this school? And I mean, he has a full ride and all this. And so she was like, okay, because of your daddy's name and the philanthropy that we have flooded into these places, and I know people on the board, and all these places got Black Lives Matter attached to their handles and all this stuff on social media. And I showed them videos of Blue being himself. They have checked into his grades and all this other stuff. They see what it is. They know what it is. And so Darla's like, look, I don't want him to be a part of the tokenism that comes along with that. I've already dealt with that with my own self. And so her mama looking at her like, girl, what is you talking about? But yeah, she ain't trying to hit it. She was like, you might be his grandmama, but I'm his mama. I don't know how I feel about this. So she gonna have to call her back later on. Darla is not here for it right now, especially in a time like this. Like, the most is going on right now. And people are reaching out because they know that the stakes are high. Black people are angry yet again. Like, this is literally nothing new happens under the sun. This happens all the time. We'll have these moments and then nothing basically gets resolved, and then here we are again. We already been through all this before. Before I was ever born, all this stuff has happened before. We done had the protests before. We done did all this before. I ain't even finna get into that, but yeah, I'm just saying. Darla ain't here for it, but her mama is like, why? Why won't you just let him go? This could quite possibly be the best school in the world, but you want to try to deny him, and for what? He has a full ride. Like, why would you sit up there and deny him? So she was like, look, I can't deal with this right now. Let me call you back. Nova and Violet are on the phone talking to one another, and basically Violet called to check up on her niece, see what she had going on. And, she was like, everything is going good. And, of course, whenever you have family members checking on you, they want to know what's going on with your life, your love life, and all that other stuff. So she was like, y'all been paid up over there, what y'all got going on. And so she was like, we're good. And she asked her, has there been talk of marriage? And she was like, somewhat, yeah, a little bit. And so Violet could tell what it was given. And so she was like, well, it seems like he's ready. So what you got going on? And so that heifer changed the subject. Like, Nova is just, and I get it, because as they've already discussed before, she don't know which way she really want to go like that, because there's so much that they're going to have to navigate through. So I get it. I don't blame her. But at the same time, it's like, girl, like, it is undeniable how y'all's chemistry is. Like, not just because of how often y'all have sex. Like, y'all have genuine chemistry. Like, y'all are made for one another. So, of course, then she gonna try to deflect and was like, well, hey, how you in Hollywood doing? Y'all good? And so she was like, we're having our ups and downs, our individual, battles or whatever. And so she was like, well, do you want to talk about it? And Violet was like, well, no, I'm all right, or whatever. So ultimately, they go ahead and get off the phone, because, she was just like, I was just calling to check on you. Y'all, at Charlie's house, Davis sat up there and watched Charlie throughout the night. So then, like, he had a timer to go off, and he ended up picking up one of these. Now, I got this, like, right when the pandemic first hit, and they finally told us that we were going to have a mask mandate. So I bought one of these for a really low, I think I paid $6 for it, and it was supposed to be like $50 or $60. Yeah. And I've only had to use it on one person because I've only had one visitor to my home. And it is my friend that I told y'all about at one point in time who was in the military. They were about to go off. So they came by. And even though I already knew that they had been tested and all that other stuff, I'm me. Anybody who knows me, you know, oh no, I need to know what is going on. Look, I'm good. Look what they say for me. I'm good. Now, even though they have already said that, this don't prove nothing, which it really doesn't. In the beginning of all this, that's what people were going by. So I'm just like, okay. So you could tell her breathing is a lot better because the doctor told him to put her on her stomach. So he was like, well, you're going to have to get up. I don't know if he's going to go bathe her or what, but he was able to get her to put her arms around him, and he picked her up and carried her upstairs. So hopefully he going to, bathe her and then, change her clothes out and get her comfortable and help her to get through it. Like, I'm glad that he's actually doing what he should, despite them not being together anymore. Okay, y'all. So Nova's at the house and Calvin pop up because, he hadn't gotten in yet. So they embraced each other like they ain't seen each other in about 5 years. Like, I ain't gonna lie, I'd be here for it. I'd be so here for it. And so she was like, I missed you. And he was like, I missed you too. And he kissed her. And so she was like, go wash your hands. So, he was like, you know what? I've been so used to us just being cooped up together. It is what it is. So he went and washed his hands. And she was like, I got a little nervous when I got home from the airport and you weren't here. And so, I'm like, oh, well, Nova was woman enough to bring up marriage. And even though she couldn't say the word, he was like, oh, you can't even say the word. So they talked about it. And he was like, I'm here for all of that. I want all the smoke. So you could tell that, she was happy about it. But at the same time, she might need a little nudge in the right direction. So I don't know if he need to go ring shopping and just set it off for for a couple of weeks, months or something, and then pop the question. But I feel like if she gets that right nudge, then she will go ahead and be on board and understand that there are people who have come before her when there were times where there were literally whites only signs up and they were able to get through the interracial relationships that they've had. So yeah, I don't know. I'm rooting for him. I'm here for it. So Darla was so deep in her feelings that she called Violet and told her what her mama did, which was, of course, went behind her back and got her child into this private school. And, of course, he fits the criteria, especially in a time like this. And so Violet is like, no, what we're not finna do is this. And so she was like, I mean, it is what it is. I understand my child is smart and all that. But I really think that Ralph Angel is considering allowing him to go to the school. And so she was like, no, ain't no way. And he, as much as he loved him, ain't no way he gonna let that boy out of his sight. I'm gonna talk to him. And if I need to, I'm gonna talk to your mama too. Because what we not finna do is this. Ralph Angel just likes to think things through. And I'm like, girl, you must not know the new Ralph Angel that we've been seeing all season. Because I understand that he wants better than what he had for himself. Because I understand, his dad did what he did. And, he was over here working 2 jobs to support his kids and doing all this other stuff. Like stuff didn't nobody even know this man had done until he passed away. They didn't even know that man was a janitor until he passed away. They looking like, what did you talking about? My dad ain't never pushed a broom in his life. I mean, they were setting it off. And he actually had a whole nother job to help supplement the bill, everything that he had going on. I was just like, yeah, oh Lord. Like, that's how you know how bad it was. And this was pre-COVID. So it's like, come on now. So Ralph Angel, I can't wait until they actually finally put him in the scene, because I feel like the preview that we saw is where a lot of the emotions are going to come out. But yeah, ain't nobody here for it. Darla's mind is put at ease, but I'm like, girl, I'm going to need for you to understand that Ralph Angel is pretty much on board with it, even though you don't think he gonna, go on ahead and go through with it. But we gonna see. So Charlie is up in her bed. I don't know if he's bathed her or what, but I'm hoping that he at least tried to give her a little bath. But yeah, she's in the bed, covered up and all that, and he's watching her, and he is taking her temperature every hour. And it's to the point where she was like, "You just took my temperature." He was like, "I know, that was an hour ago. I'm doing it every hour." And so she looking around, and she was like, "You did this?" Like, she reached up, and I'm like, "What's she talking about?" I'm thinking he done did something in the room. He put her hair back in a ponytail. And so, he was like, "Oh yeah, I just thought that you might, it'll be better if it was out of your face. Is that okay?" And so she was like, "Yeah, thanks." So they talking, and so she was like, "Have you heard from Micah?" And he was like, "Yeah, he texted you earlier." And so she was like, "Did you text him back?" He was like, "No, you told me not to." Even though I think he should know what's going on, because he should have a choice in this matter to know what's going on with you and to decide whether or not he wants to stay there or come be by your side, which we all know he would set it off and come to the house. He already gonna set it off once he find out that she's kept this from him, because this ain't gonna go away overnight. So yeah, it is what it is. But she looked at the text message, and it's like a picture of him with the Black Power fist up in the air, and like he is enjoying his life. And she says that she wants him to enjoy his life, and she sees that he's enjoying his life and all of that. Y'all, when the scene first came on though, he was sitting up there reminiscing on the moment where she, was talking to him about his infidelities and how she felt about him, about how he was the moon, the stars, her whole world. And for what? And for what? You done did all this, and she lived for you. And that, I mean, a lot of people don't understand that, mainly us women. I don't know what it is about us. Like, we overextend ourselves for people, to people. And in a lot of cases, it is not appreciated and definitely not reciprocated. And it's not fair. But it is what it is. You live and you learn. But he over there reminiscing on what he had. Y'all, at the end of the scene, he was like, "Look, you show up for the people that you love." And I was just like, oh, you show up for the people you love, huh? Oh, okay. So Violet called Darla's mama, gave up piece of her mind, and was like, "Yeah, what we not finna do is this." They went back and forth. It went sideways. And I was just like, "Oh Lord." Because like Violet had to remind her, like, "Heifer, when you didn't want nothing to do with your grandson, I was the one raising him." She was like, "But I sent you money, didn't I? I sent you money though." Girl, you didn't want nothing to do with that child or your own child. Like, for the longest, like, her mama was so trash, y'all. I could not. I was so tired. And sometimes I still side-eye her, despite the fact that I guess she doing better than she was before. Because I really was side-eyeing her. I was like, "Girl, bye." I was not here for her even coming back. I'm sorry. Because my thing is, if your child done went off the deep end, your child has this addiction, she done been all the way through, and you throw her to the wayside instead of trying to help her, I ain't got time. I ain't here for it. But anyway, y'all. Yeah. It went sideways. It was to the point where Hollywood came in there because the heifer hung up in her face. She was like, "I know she just hang up in my face." I was like, "Oh my gosh." Hollywood came in there and told her that she gonna have to calm down before Darla's mama put a restraining order out on her and all this. She was just like, "Oh, I'm not having this. I'm not having it." And I was like, "Oh Lord, somebody please do something." Okay, y'all. So Charlie trying to get up out the bed. She done raised up out the bed, and she hacking and coughing something terrible. And she coughing so bad. Davis, I know that earlier he said he was gonna go make some broth. So maybe he was coming from downstairs, but he heard her coughing and he came to her and, got her some water. And so she drunk that and she coughing something terrible. And it's like, he was like, "It's okay. You've been cooped up in this house for a few days. It's okay. Just breathe. Just calm down. Just calm down." And she is coughing. And then she started to cry. Then she started to cough some more. I'm like, "Lord, this is just too much." So Hollywood and Ralph Angel are having their time to FaceTime. And so they're, having drinks. And apparently a wedding gift, I don't know if it was from Hollywood or not. I'm guessing it was some alcoholic beverage. He tried it and he told him that he gonna have to slow down on it because it'll sneak up on him because he had drunk some and then he drunk some more. Like, hey, you have to slow down on that. So he was like, I've had a lot of stuff thrown at me. I can take it. I can handle it. I know I can handle this. He was like, yeah, you're right. So he was drinking too. So then he was like, why not? He done poured up some more liquor. I'm like, Lord, Hollywood, you don't need nothing else to drink. You've been doing the most. So it's just to the point where, they both were just like, I'm enjoying married life. I love my wife. And they hold us down and all this other stuff. And, it was just good camaraderie to the point where Ralph Angel was like, we really do need the real spot. Like, we really needed that. And hopefully after all this COVID stuff is over, you'll be able to, get that going like you already planned. So hopefully they will, because the most of them went on. So Hollywood is blindfolded and Violet is leading him, and he is one of those people where he is very impatient. I know I am too. It's like I like surprises, but I don't. I just want to know what it is. So anyway, he over here blindfolded. She's trying to lead him. They're in the diner, but he don't know what she hasn't blindfolded for. She has led him to a meal that she has prepared, red beans and rice, which I'm weird, y'all. I don't like red beans and rice. My mama lives for red beans and rice. Catfish. When she said catfish, I was like, all right, now I like catfish now. I like good, clean catfish, even though we ain't supposed to have none of that. It's like the worst thing to eat. I don't know what it is. Catfish is delicious. But anyway, she had catfish. She had some sauteed kale. I have not had kale before. I've been so scared to cook it and just have it as salad. But one day I'm going to get up the nerve and I'm going to have it. And macaroni and cheese. It was a 3-cheese macaroni and cheese. And he was like, oh, okay, that sounds good. What are the cheeses? And so she listed off the cheeses. And he was like, oh, man, that sounds just like what my mama used to make. And she was like, it's exactly what your mama used to make. And so she was like, he was like, well, what is all this for? And she was like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just appreciating you. And, just letting you know that I love you and all this other stuff. Because he like, what is this? The Sadie Hawkins dance? Like, what's going on? And, he was like, she was just like, I know that you've been through a lot. And I'm just trying to let you know I'm here for you. You are not okay. Because at first he was sitting there, I'm all right. I'm okay. And so she was like, no, you're not. And, she's just trying to reassure him that she's there for him. So do what you do. Understand I'm here for you. Let's toast to getting into some good trouble. And I was like, y'all better do that. Violet and Hollywood are in the bed and, they're basically getting ready for bed and just lounging around, not even under the covers yet. Violet is putting on her lotion and all that. And so he was like, well, you just finished talking to Darla, didn't you? And he was like, yep. She was like, yep. And so he was like, you went a little hard on Darlene the other day. And so she was like, it ain't like she ain't deserved it. He was like, it's a little bit, worse than you had. Like, you hadn't gone this hard on her in a long time. And she was just like, I mean, it is what it is. Blue ain't going nowhere. He gonna stay here where he belongs. So he was like, I'm glad about all that. And so he was like, whenever you're ready to discuss why you went so hard on Darlene, I'll be here. And so he was in the middle of like rubbing her feet, lotioning her up. And she kind of like snatched her foot out of his hand and, was like, okay, good to know. And I'm like, see, he didn't pick up what she was putting down. Like, he didn't even pick it up. Sometimes y'all just don't, sometimes men, they just don't get it. Sometimes they don't see the signs, and it's right there. It was because of you and the stuff that you was going through, the stuff you was doing, sir. But anyway, so Charlie is awakened out of a nap again. She is awakened, and before that she was dreaming, and she basically had flashbacks of how she had been going hard in the paint for everything that she has been doing as of late, leading up to what her role is now. And then she woke up. So she woke up and she looked over. Davis is dead to the world. He finally asleep. And so, first of all, I was like, sir, why your mask ain't on? if you're gonna sit up there and not have a mask on, you could have went into another room. If nothing else, I would have went into the bathroom. I'm sure she got a bathroom in her room, and I would just close the door. And I don't think no disinfectant spray nowhere. Like, you just out here with no mask on. I was just like, what's wrong with you? But anyway, he was asleep. Then he woke up when he realized that she was awakened and all that stuff, and they talking, and he was like, well, do you want me to call your sister, your brother, your aunt? And she was like, I would just appreciate it if we kept this between one another. I mean, down to me even calling you for help to begin with, like all of this. I don't want to talk to them about this. I don't want to have to explain myself. I don't want to have to talk to them. So, yeah. And so he was like, I really think that they should know that, everything that was going on. She was like, yeah, I don't want to talk to them about all this. So, it is what it is. I feel like they're going to try to set it up where he ain't going to be with the young girl no more, if he even with her anymore, and they're going to try to have them to get back together. And I'm just like, whatever. But we'll see. So the episode is at the end, and we see Blue, Darla, and Ralph Angel playing Jenga, and they're having an amazing time. So they are having such a good time that, Ralph Angel done took his turn, and then he over here celebrating, and he done knocked everything down. So he takes it upon himself to go and refresh his drink and to pop some popcorn. So while he waiting, he went to go get the bowl that he was going to pour the popcorn into, and up under it was the letter that was from the school. He read it, and you could tell he was, kind of like, dang, Darla ain't say nothing about this. But Darla came in the kitchen after he had already put it back where he got it from and hugged up behind him. And I'm thinking, oh God, Ralph Angel about to come out. But he held his composure, y'all. Ralph Angel has changed for the better. I'm just like, oh my gosh. Now later on, he might talk. He might actually talk to Hollywood about it, but he didn't bring it up to her. And she was just like, because he was like, yeah, at first, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. At first, I thought he was gonna slip it in there and see if I kind of felt like he was gonna test her to see if she was gonna bring it up, but he didn't do nothing. He didn't try her. He didn't say, well, why you didn't tell me about this letter? Like, no argument ensued. I was like, okay. Because he was like, yeah, we got everything he need, right? She was like, yeah, we sure do. Yeah, between me, you, and our family, we can do this. And I was just like, okay. And Darla's like, I really feel like this is the first time we've really been a family. Don't you think this is like us really starting being a family right now? And like, everything seems amazing. So y'all, I'm very excited to see where this goes. I'm glad that I didn't get emotional and upset. Anyway, hopefully y'all enjoyed this recap review. Let's talk about it down in the comments section.